Hey everybody! Welcome to Let's Look at Sunless Sea. Sunless Sea is a very difficult game to describe in the way that I normally describe games, where it's like, you know, it's like the X game meets Call of Duty, or it's like Madden NFL 2005 meets Gone Home. This is nothing of the sort. It's a totally unique game, but if you had to describe it as a combination of two things, it's a little bit like a much slower paced FTL meets the Victorian open ocean meets like H.P. Lovecraft and H.R. Geiger having a vaginal crab baby. It's difficult to explain. Basically, this game is a really fucking cool concept that's in early access on Steam right now. And I'll put a link to it in the video description below. It is $17.99, I think, for its opening week sale, which is 10% off, and it's going to be $20 at some point after that. I never know how pricing works in early access, if it's going to be $18 for the duration of early access, or if it's going to go up to 20, and then eventually, who knows, right? Anyway, probably the best way to handle this is just to get started. And when we do get started here, I'll explain exactly what's going on, because there is a lot of cool stuff at work here. Basically, you can imagine this as, it's not really procedurally generated, it's not really roguelike-ish, but it still does have a little bit of that FTL vibe, especially with respect to its combat. But you take the role of a captain of a ship. And this is in the 19th century, so, you know, just after the era of Victorian England. And it's an alternate history where England, or London at least, was attacked by, like, demons or, you know, eldritch horrors or something like that. And it's been kind of relegated to this alternate historical reality or dimension called the Untersee, or the Untersee. And basically, it's just a really dark and creepy and steamy, humid kind of you know, sea zone, if that makes sense. I'm having trouble describing this because it is the kind of thing that's, oh, it's a first-person shooter set in, you know, a modern era. It's not like that. It's very unique. So you play as a captain of the ship, and you have to do things like hire crew, maintain your crew's morale, you know, keep food high, make sure they don't go crazy, because there is, you know, this terror meter, and there's all this terrifying stuff that happens that makes your crew angrier. And in the meantime, you're also just kind of living your life, which is super cool. So you can decide, you know, do you want to be like a warship? Do you want to be, you know, a vessel of the Admiralty, which is basically just going to go out and seek reconnaissance information from other islands and stuff like that. So you're just sailing around, gathering information, fighting enemies, and trying to make sure that your crew doesn't tear themselves apart due to, basically, you know, going insane because they're terrified, they're scared, and you will be too. So when we first get started here, you know, a lot of the game is told via this text format right here. Inside of our journal. So there's a lot of like FTL style reading and then making decisions, and then dice rolls happen, which use your attributes as kind of like a test to determine the probability of your success. But anyway, we're going to choose a past here. You can also go as like a blank slate if you want to, but I'm going to choose a class which will give us some bonus stats. So you can choose who you were in your past life. You can be a street urchin, that gives you a bonus to veils, which is the skill of subtlety and evasion. I don't really need to know that stuff right now. I'm more of a, you know, shoot first, ask questions later kind of guy because I don't understand the advanced level tactics yet. You could be a poet. This will give you a bonus to pages, the skill of trickery and knowledge. We could be a veteran of the war with hell, basically. This will give us a bonus to iron, the skill of causing direct damage. We could be an ordained priest. Will give us a bonus to hearts, the skill of healing and morale. Very important for things like making sure your crew doesn't go insane and eat one another. Or we could be a natural philosopher. This will give you a bonus to mirrors, the skill of detection and perception. And it might not seem like it, but that's super important. So I've gained 25 mirrors, and mirrors is this stat right here. You can see all those stats kind of lined up right here. I'll talk a little bit more about those as we get going here. We've also gained an officer. This is a plausible surgeon. He probably won't saw the wrong limb off. He has +1 pages, +1 hearts for our ship. Good. We've gained 20 echo. Sure, and we can continue moving on here. We can choose an ambition. Do we want wealth? You know how it is to be poor. Now you want a mansion, servants, fine clothes, a family, perhaps. Or, you know, I mean, the writing in the game is super solid. It has kind of like that horror, but also mixed with this kind of melancholy of, like, I just want to live my life type thing going on. But it is also truly terrifying, but also kind of frank in a way, honest. It's not like, you know, fire erupted from his skin, blah, blah, blah. It's more like kind of the writing in the Yogg, where it's very, you know, genuine and matter-of-fact about things. It's, you know, fire erupted from his skin and he died. You lose one crew member. Anyway, we're going to go for fulfillment. Learn all you can of the sea, write a masterpiece, and retire. And we can retire. We won't over the course of this video because runs seem like they take an awful long time to complete. And we'll choose our pronoun. We'll just go with captain. And we can also choose our name. Any game that gives me an excuse to be Northernlion. I'm going to take it, and I'm also going to be the character in this diving bell. Alright, so it has like almost this warlock or civilization style queue that we can use here to figure out what we want to do. But I think we might be able to hire another crew member while we're in London, and that's one of two things we'll do. So let's start a new recruit. Maybe we can't get one right now, unfortunately. Oh, there we go. Hire on more crew. So, sensible sailors are looking for a safe run to the tomb colonies, or at least a sane run to the southern archipelago. You need to buy drinks, spread around hiring fees, look for daredevils. I've gained 2 new crew, so I have 10 crew members. That's this stat over here. You've lost 30 echo, and you've succeeded in a hearts challenge. So again, that's what I was getting at earlier, where basically these stats, they help us pass tests, almost in like a long live the queen capability. So the higher these numbers go, the more likely we are to accomplish things that we basically are dice rolling for. So we got 2 new crew members. That's awesome, because we'll lose several probably while we're out. We'll also quickly go to the Admiralty's survey office, and we can play a little bit more, you know, unguided if we want to. I apologize that it's taking forever to get started, but trust me, we'll have plenty of time to talk when we get onto the open water. But we can go to the Admiralty's survey office, and basically they can give us a mission, and it's usually a reconnaissance mission. So they say, go here, get information, bring it back, and then we get money and repute as a result. So what do they say? Retrieve strategic information from the Iron and Misery Company funging station northeast of London. Good, so that's going to be our mission. Let's leave. Alright, so we get started here, and I just launched our ship, and then we'll begin. There's lots of stuff to talk about. This is our ship. We steer it using W, A, S, and D, or the arrow keys, if you want to. And basically, we're just going to be island hopping. So we're going to drive around here, and or sail around here. Is it still sailing if you don't have a sail and you're a steamship? Anyway, speaking of that as a wonderful segue, there's a lot of kind of, you know, fiddly knobs and interfaces and stuff that we can get here. Ignore that giant enemy crab for a moment. This in the top left that I'm mousing over right now is our speed indicators. So we can go, you know, -2, which would be backwards at fastest possible speed, all the way up to +2, which would be forward at the highest possible speed. We can go a little bit faster than that, but if we do that, it puts us at risk of an engine fire. And the way we do that is just by clicking basically on this fire and just adding more fuel than is necessary. Now, we can get involved in some encounters, and they're not random encounters, so we could use fuel here. This ship is faster than ours, so it will catch us, but I could use fuel and try to escape it, or I could just, you know, sail on, and maybe they'll catch me, maybe they won't, and if they end up wanting to get in combat with me, by all means. This is our terror meter. As we sail through kind of uncharted waters, the terror meter will go up here, as you can see it kind of going around that radial indicator. As terror goes up, our units get more and more likely to, as one might expect, experience, shall we say, not so positive repercussions. You know, risk of insanity, risk of eating one another, etc., etc. So we're looking for a particular island here, but if we can't find it, I should know where it is, but if we can't find it, we'll just, we'll dock elsewhere, and we can still experience an awful lot of the game. We have a food meter. Basically, we have 4 food. That's 4 days, and our hunger will go up here. And when every single day, I think we feed our crew. There's also a logbook, as you may or may not be able to see down there. And there's a lot of other stuff going on, but you don't need to really know that for right now. I think I've maybe traveled even a little bit too far in this direction. This is early access, so there's a lot of stuff. Like if you sail too far, you just won't find anything. So I know that we're going to the northeast here, and we're looking for the Iron and Misery funging station, which I actually think is this island right here. It's right on Demure Island. So you can almost consider this like in FTL. You know how you know jump beacon to beacon. Imagine if you actually piloted yourself from beacon to beacon. This is what we're doing, but it's a little bit less like linear, if you will. It's a little bit less. You know, you want to get to the final sector or something like that, and a little bit more kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure novel or something like that. So we've docked at the Iron and Misery Company funging station here. We'll get involved in some combat later, never fear, on the way back to London for sure. So, we have some choices here. We're going to go with the one based on the location. Iron and Misery, a funger operation here, felling giant... Sorry, Iron and Misery has a funger operation here, felling giant... Bolaga shrooms for building materials, harvesting Kira Lee for its medicinal properties. It's a desperate little outpost of something like civilization. Up puffs the affable factor. Oh, hello, Captain. Sorry, I mean, I hate to do this. I hope this doesn't offend people, but it's gotta be like an, oh, hello, Captain. Thank God for visitors. No, we'd go quite mad out here otherwise. Quite mad. How can we be of assistance? So, we have some options here. We can give the pass sign to the affable factor, and this is basically just us saying, hey, the Admiralty sent us, we want some information. So that's what we're going to do, but there's also other options, and each one of these, carries positives, negatives, and possible outcomes with it as a result. So we could have tea with the factor. This poor fellow needs the company, and he can spare an hour away from his schedule. It will probably lower our terror, and maybe something else. We can explore the island, which seems risky, but could carry, benefits or negatives. We could accept a volunteer, which we can't do, maybe because we already have full crew, yeah. Or we could gather supplies, which would allow us to get more food. But anyway, we're just going to give the pass sign. The Admiralty asks you to bring back strategic information. This is your contract. A strained smile. Here, little to report, but we have had a Connet privateers nosing around and tell them that the company grows suspicious. Mr. Iron knows the Admiralty is too interested in his business. Pray, my friend, that you never have to serve two masters as I do. Okay. So we've completed our commission. We can return to the Admiralty in London, and we now have one strategic information. We could also have tea with this guy, so let's do that. You sit on the veranda of the factor's house looking out over his fungal jungle. The fungal jungle. Also, fungal jungle, great name for what happens to your pubic area on a hot summer day. An expanse of green and sour gold. The air is thick with hovering spores. The scones are stale. Even the tea tastes a little moldy, but the factor is good company. He shares odd stories about the Gant pole, where monsters swarm, about the seductions of the principles of coral, the infestation at Featherhaven. He also has a load of Boligus frond. I apologize, some of these words are flowery, let's put it that way. Decadent. Made up. He also has a load of Boligus frond carted aboard your ship. He waves away your thanks. I've eaten so much of the stuff, I fear I might be transformed entirely into a fungus. He leans confidently toward you. It happens, but one does have to eat rather a lot of it first. I like that a lot. It's, macabre is the word I guess I would use. This game, if nothing else, it's certainly inspiring me to use a little bit more of an expanded vocabulary. Anyway, we're done with this now. So basically, we've completed a mission. And you can choose to play the game in other ways, but this is the way that I've played the game so far in my hour and a half or so of play, is basically just being kind of a messenger for the Admiralty and, completing their missions and then going back to London. We don't really have a map, so to speak, but we do have kind of like almost like sonar here, which is what's popped up at the bottom of the screen right now when I hit the Z key, and that kind of tells us what's going on. Let's get involved in some combat here deliberately so you can see what's going on with that. So, apart from the reconnaissance and the, narrative kind of decision-making trees that you have going on, you also have combat. And the combat works very, very similar to something like FTL, but with a little bit of its own unique twist. It is simultaneous, but, it is turn-based, but it's not really turn-based, but it's not like you're playing Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag or something like that, where you're, like, real-time on the fly, like, shooting the cannons and, like, steering at the same time. No. You're just in static, like, ship-to-ship combat, and there's basically two things that you have to balance. One is attacking. Attacking lowers enemy crew and also enemy hull, and you can kill all of their crew or you can kill all of their hull, and that will give you, that'll give you the win, so you don't die. And there's also, distance factors in as well, for things like actually hitting the enemy, but the other big thing is this bar on the left side of my ship and the right side of their ship, which is illumination. So you want to typically open battles by illuminating the enemy ship, because our attacks, like if you look at Salvo here, requires illumination 50, and it's based on our iron stat. So the more iron we have, the more damage it does, but it needs illumination 50 to actually hit. Similarly, Devastating Salvo requires 100% illumination, or not 100%, just 100 illumination. We can also, illuminate enemies with flares and potent flares and this other thing called Seek, which is basically just, looking at the enemy, I guess, by reducing distance. But we can evade as well to lower the enemy's illumination of us, if that makes sense. So we're going to open with a Seek, as is very common. And our mirror stat is pretty high. It's the highest stat we have. It's 50 if you look at that like eyeball in the top right. So we should illuminate them more than they illuminate us. Now, you can queue up multiple actions, which you want to do. So I think this will not take us up to 50 illumination, which we'll be able to see. So I think I'm going to do another... I think I'm going to do a flare immediately after. Now, the flare is a bit of a double-edged sword because it goes faster... But, oh, they're going to shoot at us, but it didn't hit us, I think. It illuminates us, but it illuminates them more. So they're up to 81. We could just fire some salvos here, but I think I'm actually going to go for another quick flare. And then we'll do a devastating salvo, which should do more damage to them. So, They're up to 125 illumination. We'll do a devastating salvo. They're going to hit us with a salvo first, probably, and we'll lose some hull integrity, but we should kill them in one hit. Oh, we lost a lot of hull integrity. And we didn't actually kill them. That is scary, actually. So we'll just do a regular salvo now, and this will kill them for sure. So that's like pretty much the worst battle I've ever had, but hopefully I did a pretty good job of explaining it. So we've killed their hull. After you kill enemies, you get some options here. So you can loot and scuttle the ship, and you get supplies and, you know, whatever. Or you could send her home with a prize crew. 2 Zailers should be enough for a skeleton crew, and she's fast enough to avoid much trouble. Which means, basically, we're going to give 2 crew members to the ship and then send it back to London. And if we can make it back to London, we'll reap greater rewards. So why don't we give that a try? When you next return to London, return to your lodgings to claim your prize money. You lost 2 crew, we'll get them back. You were fortunate, and you have gained 1 to the victor go the spoils. Okay, cool. So that's combat. Combat versus... Oh, okay, if we get into another fight, I don't need to explain it as much. The combat works well, by the way. I may sound like I consider it a little bit tiresome. I don't. I think it's got kind of a cool gimmick going with it. It's not the most engaging combat of all time. Thus far, it seems like... I've never encountered an enemy that actually killed me. Let's put it that way. Maybe it'll happen over time. You know what? I was going to say, why don't we burn some fuel and try to get away from this guy, but that's okay. We're just returning to London right now, by the way, if you're confused about what we're doing. Yeah, I've never had an enemy that actually killed me. It seems like, basically, I can just spam my illumination abilities until I can just use salvos and then spam those and kill them. But keep in mind, that is possibly because I have an advantage, because I took the Philosopher class, which allows me to have a higher mirror stat, meaning I have better illumination to begin with. So we're just sailing back to Fallen London here, and we want to come down this way. And, oh, sometimes you just have random events like this as well. A white Zebat. A Zailor has grown fretful and disobedient, reluctant to go on deck, even in port. There's a white Zebat watching me up there. Salt's messenger. Salt's got its eye on me. I'll never see him again. So we can order him up on deck. Salt is one of the nameless gods that Zailors fear. He's a conscientious man. Send him to the sick bay on the pretext of a fever. Feed the Zebat, which will... Okay. Or shoot the Zebat. You know what? Let's feed the Zebat, see what happens. So I've lost 1 crew. Oh god. The Zebat takes fungal crackers from your fingers as boldly as a parrot. It dips its head to you and chirps something you might mistake for speech. It spreads its wings and leaps into the air. The next day, your crewman is gone along with one of the ship's boats. No one saw him depart or knows why. I've lost 1 crew member, gained 5 fragment, which I think is kind of like, yeah, it's lore. You've gained Salt's attention, which scares the crap out of me, and you have 1 of Stone, Storm, and Salt. Interesting. So there's greater, like, overarching quests that can happen from what I can divine. I've gotten stones before. I've never gotten the storm, and now I guess I have salt as well. But I imagine you have to get all those at once. And what's kind of cool about this is that there is that, like, apart from just like going place to place and getting missions and completing them, there is like a greater kind of story being told from what I can tell. And you know, you get to choose how much of a part you want to play in that. It's not simply like you have one principal objective, you know, beat the enemy flagship or something like that, or, you know, kill Mom, or, you know, beat Yama. Instead, it's kind of a little bit more open-ended. You know, you can kind of choose the part that you want to play in the story. So we made it back to London. We're going to quickly go to our lodgings, because we did have that, you know, to the victor go the spoils, right? Where is that? Long-awaited prize money. A letter. Captain, we have assessed the da-da-da in accordance with the law of the Z, da-da-da. Please to enclose a money order. Okay. So I've gained 2 more crew members. Those are the ones we sent on the skeleton crew. I've gained 50 Echo. Oh, Echo is the currency of the bazaar. Okay. And, cool. 50 Echo. Seems useful. We'll also, see if we can hire 1 more crew member, because we did lose 1. We should visit the Admiralty as well, because we completed a mission. Yeah, strategic information. There we go. So pass on strategic information. He's hard to read with those glasses, but he reads the summary intently. Satisfactory, he says at last. Eminently satisfactory. Actually, good work. Take this for your trouble. We gained 150 Echo. That's crazy. And we got the Admiralty's favor, and we lost our strategic information. That's fair. Let's see if we can hire another crew member quickly. Where is this? A new recruit. Now, we can usually choose whether we want to get an officer, a regular sailor, or, you know, something in between. So we have an officer, the Haunted Doctor. We already have a doctor, but we'll see. Please, I must leave this place. I can work my passage. I'm a doctor. He increases hearts and pages. Unlocked with 50 echo. Unlocked with a new recruit. No more than 3, you have 3. No more than 4, you have 3. Okay, what about this one? No more than 9, you have 9. Well, we have 9. What about this one? The Genial Magician. Good afternoon, Captain. Please, I can do your engines some good. No, haha, I'm quite the engineer. Difficult to credit, isn't it? But here's my references. The Haunted Doctor increases veils and mirrors. Okay. Unlocked with 50 echo. Unlocked with learning about the magician, no more than 0. Unlocked with a new recruit, 3, and no more than 4. Okay, let's hire him. So we hired the genie. I'll get to work below. Perhaps I should change out of this jacket. First, of course, appoint your new officer. Okay, so we've got a new officer. What we can do is take him, and he gives us -1 heart, but +6 veils and +3 mirrors. That's pretty good. And we'll just equip him up here. So we can gradually get more and more officers. Now, not all of our crew shows up here. Only our officers show up here. Anyway, cool. So that's what we've got going on over there. And I think, honestly, that's kind of where I want to stop this episode. But I haven't even really talked about how I feel about Sunless Sea so far. So, why don't we sail around a little bit here? I might as well take another mission from the Admiralty first, and at least give me something to do. So let's see what the strategic information's like. Iron and Misery Company Funging Station, northeast of London. Okay, well, that's unfortunate, I guess, but we'll do it. Because it's the same one. Maybe we'll sail south here and we'll encounter some new stuff. You know what? We can actually talk while we go to the Hunter's Cove here, or whatever it's called. Because there's other, conditions that you might want to see. But anyway, Sunless Sea so far has been a bit of a weird game to parse my thoughts on. The first thing I want to say is that it's super fucking cool. This is a really, really cool idea for a game, and I appreciate that it's taking a very different approach than, a lot of quote-unquote roguelike-ish games. This has a map. It's not procedurally generated, and I'm glad it's not, because otherwise it would be impossible to find anything. And things seem to go roughly the same way every single time, but you can choose to do different things. You could choose not to be a pawn of the Admiralty, for example. That being said, it is very, very slow, and slow is a negative word. If you wanted to be more positive, you could say deliberate. It's a very deliberate game. You have to have patience to play this. Sailing places takes a long time. I like the combat overall. I'm impressed with the game, but it is early access. I don't necessarily want to fully commit myself to the experience until it's a little bit further along. And it's a little bit expensive. It is, $20, $18 for its opening week sale. I hate, enabling that attitude that oh, this indie game is way too expensive, blah, blah, blah. Especially when it's as cool as this one. But considering it is a work in progress, I think that should give you a little bit more pause when it comes to picking it up. But mostly, just keep in mind, it's very, very deliberately paced. It's slow. Is it worth it? I don't know, because I've never made it more than 45 minutes, 50 minutes into a run before wanting to restart and kind of do things in a different way to see how things go if you, don't just become, again, a pawn of the Admiralty. But in any case, yeah, so consider it kind of like a tenuous recommendation, a recommendation that is, yourself better than I do. I don't know how much more Sunless Sea I'm going to play until it gets a little bit further on in development, but it is a super, super interesting idea, cool atmosphere, great setting, and really, really intriguing stuff going on, and especially strong writing. But it is not the kind of game that if you like FTL and you want to boot in and play, a 90-minute run where you're going to see the game through from 0 to completion, it's not that. It's a much more, traditionally driven experience where you're going to be playing it for, it seems like, hours and hours and hours. If only because it takes 8 minutes to get anywhere. Anyway, we're on Hunter's Keep. I do want to stress that, at least so far, every single one of these islands has had, the same options every single time. It's not like sometimes you'll go to Hunter's Keep and get shot in the head with an arrow. Anyway, so, a hump of dark rock swathed in mist like 100 other Untersee islands, but here's a grand house, windows aglow, lawns impossibly green and lush in the false starlight, raked gravel paths. You stand on the dock, and the sea nudges the ship's sides. An unexpectedly warm breeze carries the faintest trace of lavender. So let's present ourselves at the house. You stand on the dock as the sea nudges the ship's sides, an unexpectedly warm breeze. Okay, yes, sure, sorry. A maid with smoldering topaz eyes shows you into the parlor where 3 young women wait. A visitor, the youngest cries, the next youngest chuckles, the eldest sighs. Do excuse the indecorum, she says. Visitors are rare, you are very welcome. I am Cynthia, the noisy one is Phoebe, the cheerful one is Lucy. You are in good time for lunch, will you join us? I will, and let's have lunch with the sisters. And we've gained supplies. I'm not going to read it again. You've gained acquaintance with the Sisters of the Keep. You've lost hunger. You've gained a little bit of terror, I guess. And you've got 1 extra tale of terror as well. Very interesting. All right, so that's Sunless Sea. You know, I think I've done a reasonably good job of explaining how I think about it so far. A very, very interesting game. But do keep in mind that this is not a rapid-fire, lunch break roguelike. It's not even really a roguelike at all. It just has some inspiration from it. I hate to even mention the word. Go look at the website, okay? They count roguelikes and specifically FTL as inspirations. Now, if you've already left a comment saying, who is this asshole who always talks about roguelikes in every single video even though the game is not a roguelike, go to the freaking website, okay? Go look at it, and then come back to me. And then you look at me and I'll look back at you and you will know something. I didn't have a good finish there, but the menacing dialogue was, I think I got my point across to start with. In any case, this is Sunless Sea. Again, very, very interesting. Know what you're getting into. Keep in mind it is early access as well, but very, very intriguing game so far. As always, thanks for watching. If you want to pick up the game on Steam, there is a link in the video description below. Go check it out there. Again, $18 for its opening week sale or its early access price, and $20 normally priced. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, click the like button. It helps me out a great deal, and subscribe if you want to see more first impressions like this in the future. But for now, thanks for watching. And I'll see you next time.